How can we as clinicians gamify evidence-based tasks to make therapy fun and functional? Today, I had a wonderful conversation with Lindsay Watson. Lindsay Watson is a personal friend of mine, and she is also a physical therapist and the CEO and co-founder of Augment Therapy, which is a pioneering digital health company that leverages augmented reality and virtual care features to engage individuals of all ages and abilities in therapeutic exercise. Today, we talk all about how can we blend our expertise and tech to help our learners. Lindsay and her company have a strong feeling about making sure that they include research, and I love that. They recently did research with Yale, and I love that focus on how can we take what is evidence-based, include it into our therapy to make things fun and functional, which is amazing. Augment Therapy, under Lindsay's leadership, has secured partnerships with celebrated organizations such as the global nonprofit Sesame Workshop, the makers of Sesame Street, and Niantic, the makers of Pokemon Go and Periodot. How exciting what she is doing in the field. And I think it's just such a good reminder of therapy should be fun. Therapy should be functional. Our students should want to engage. And how can we motivate our learners so that they can have practice with skills and generalize those skills outside of the therapy session? I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Lindsay Watson. I'm Rose Griffin, a speech therapist, board-certified behavior analyst, and founder of ABA Speech. It wasn't all that long ago that I felt overwhelmed by providing therapy for my autistic students and any students who were not yet speaking. Fast forward through many doubts, tears, research, and courses, and you will see the framework that I use today and share with over 60,000 readers weekly. One that will help you support your students and feel more confident in the process. I created the ABA Speech podcast to give you simple, step-by-step strategies to help you reach all of your students wherever they are on their communication journeys. If you're a speech therapist, BCBA, RBT student, or parent who's looking to help all students develop a way to communicate with the world, you are in the right place, friend. Let's get started. We have a great show for you today. Thank you, Lindsay, so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And Lindsay, we used to work together in the same program many, many moons ago. And then that segued into us meeting at Panera, dreaming about our businesses. And now we both have one. Yay. I'm excited to share about your business and just kind of your path and going from clinician to business owner, I think is really exciting. And what you're doing is just so neat in the tech field. And I love it. And so I want to share about that. So you are a physical therapist. How long, I guess, did you work in the field? And then what really inspired you to start Augment Therapy?
Yeah, I've been a physical therapist now for over 20 years. I can't believe it myself.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I worked in outpatient orthopedics initially, and then I would moonlight in the summers in outpatient ortho. But I did over 15 years in school-based PTs, so in northeastern Ohio, so crisscrossing the county, treating, one kid in one school building, one kid in another, and they'd done my caseload for years and years and years. And a lot of that is really what inspired me to start the company. I was watching my kids and really kind of obsessed with what engaged them to really do the exercises I was prescribing, and not to mention what engaged their families too. And I just kept getting all these ideas and couldn't sleep at night, had a night pad that was filling up next to my bed.
Right.
And just decided to go for it. And so people like you being around me helped me make that scary jump.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we probably met at the county, right? Was that your employer too? Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I couldn't remember. I mean, it's been a long time. And so it's been nice to connect with you and yeah, talk about your business and just business things. But what you're doing is really, it's so next level. It's so cool. So tell everybody what you do at Augment Therapy. What is it exactly?
So really what the software is, we're a software company, we're a digital health company, and I have to share that I have no tech background. I was really inspired by the kids that I treat and watching them game. So what we do is we gamify the evidence-based experiences, tasks, exercises that PTs, OTs, and some speech therapists, as well as behavioral therapists, use in their practice. So we just really kind of take the concept of making movement and execution of these evidence-based experiences, make them fun and into a game. So the software really, it uses just the camera on your phone or tablet or laptop with a web camera, and it turns those kinds of fundamentals of the experience into an augmented reality. So your patient sees themselves on the screen. They get that visual input of seeing themselves on the screen. And then we use layered digital content all around them and encourage them to perform basic exercises or basic experiences. Like we have an air writing experience where they're using their trunk and their shoulder girdle, and they're not actually touching the screen, but they're tracing those letters in a 3D space. Or they do shoulder abduction with Elmo, or they march through a 3D world. And we're capturing in real time data points on top of that. So it's designed to support the therapist in their data collection, which we all know is a really laborious and painful part of our job. And it logs all that data and generates it into an easy note that you could copy and paste into any kind of note-taking software that you have. So,
Wow. Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds like a dream because data is hard. And I feel like with physical therapy, I'm sure I'll have to see a physical therapist at some point. I know my husband has, but you're practicing and you're up and moving. I mean, I think that's hard about data too for speech therapists who are providing more naturalistic instruction, which we talk about a lot here at ABA Speech, is you want to be 100% in the moment in the therapy, and I feel like that's a whole other course, right? How to be 100% in the therapy. But it's hard to then have this data. And we know that to make meaningful progress and too, with your funding sources, you need to show that you're demonstrating progress, right? And if
Right.
not, we need to troubleshoot. So that sounds like every clinician's dream to have
Yeah,
that.
that was the whole goal, was to, make the experience more fun for our patients. And meanwhile, I built the software initially for children and people with disabilities. That was really my main focus. But in the process of building that, we learned we were building something for all ages. But I wanted the experience of therapy that's often boring, repetitive, and also just the way we deliver therapy is really difficult for a lot of families to consume over time. So I wanted the software to really be something that could be used in all settings. So it has a synchronous telehealth component, so you can run a really gamified session within the software. And then you can also remote monitor. So you can basically replace those paper handouts that we all give that nobody often does.
Right.
And we really get a window into the data that happens in the natural environment of that patient. So now you can see that data, objective data, and also just how much time they're spending doing the exercises you prescribe them. And that was really the goal, was make this versatile for the family and make the experience of delivering therapy easier for the providers as well.
I love that. Yeah, and you're a mom too. You have kids of your own. So I know you're thinking this through the lens of somebody who's a working parent, who's a clinician in the trenches. And how long ago did you start your business? Was it maybe 8 years ago? Was it longer than
Yeah.
that?
I
Or
started it in 2017, and I have to admit, I really was just watching the kids. Like I was watching them play Wii, but really what was the real genesis of the idea was I was watching them play Pokemon Go, which is a world-facing augmented reality application. And, PTs and OTs, and I think speech therapists totally do this as well, but we love to use mirrors
right.
to give that kind of proprioceptive input. And I just couldn't get off this idea that, gosh, if I could just digitally enhance that mirror, I could make them do repetitive movements. I could further encourage them to perform the things they needed to perform. And I built this company off of those daydreams with no tech background at all
Right.
in 2017 and just kind of,
That's
built the
amazing.
plane as
Yes.
it was taking off.
Well, it's amazing. Yeah. And so when you first did you tell your husband at first, or who did you tell at first that you had this idea? And how was it received? Because sometimes I think too, when I was driving to work, listening to my go-tos were like Amy Porterfield, Pat Flynn, Rick Mulready, those types of people thinking like, oh, I have this idea. Like, how can I put this into fruition? Because at first it depends on your support system. Like, you think to yourself, like, am I crazy? Like, but I have these ideas. Like, I can't sleep. I have to get it down on paper, right? It like actually hurts to think about these things. So I've been in the same boat. But when you started talking about it, like, what was the dialogue or the feel that you were getting kind of in your family?
Well, when I think my husband was the first to recognize that I was onto something as I was willfully waking up at 4 a.m.
Oh,
before work, before getting the kids up, so
yes.
that I could research tech companies in the rehab and therapy space. And
Hmm.
the one universal thing it seemed I found at the time was there was no therapists at the wheel of so many of these companies that were
Hmm.
trying to innovate in the therapy space. And that was the real mental block I had was I don't have an MBA. I have my master's in physical therapy, but I thought that's not enough. I'm not worthy to
Right.
start this. And then after some time of researching these other companies, I started realizing, wait a second, all the reasons why I thought I wasn't qualified are the absolute reasons why I was the most qualified.
Right.
And I just started educating myself, getting books,
Mhm.
listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
And the other great thing was a lot of times people kind of think these early ideas that you should kind of keep them a secret because somebody could steal it.
Oh, right.
And actually, the opposite is true because
Mm.
the truth is, like 99% of the public that gets an idea is not going to run with it.
Yes.
And you cannot run with an idea by yourself for very long.
Hmm.
And so I'm so glad I got the courage to speak up and start sharing. And initially I definitely heard more no's than yes.
Hmm.
But I just kind of developed tougher skin the more and more time I spent doing it and just kept going.
Yes, I love that. And I read this really great business book. I can't remember, maybe Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I can't remember. It's called Who Not How. But it just goes to that point of like, you don't have to know every single thing. Like you are the expert in physical therapy and the expert in what you saw was a need for your students and how that was going to help them grow. And so sometimes, yeah, but you're right. Like to take action and be an action taker, it's like, it's a lot of effort, right? So, and
Oh,
you have to have confidence in how you're going to be able to help serve the world. So, and it's cool to see your company grow. It's been neat. So tell me, I have an idea of like how this is, really utilized. And you talked a little bit about how it could be used by clinicians. Let's say that I'm a school-based physical therapist and I hear this podcast and I'm thinking like, this sounds really great. Like what are next steps? Is there like a demo phase? Is it an app on your phone? Do you have to have hardware? Like what does it look like logistically?
Logistically, so you could go to our website, augmenttherapy.com, and it's two T's back to back. So you could get more information there. Certainly singular therapists that want to get the app, which is called ARWell PRO. That's the app that's in the Apple App Store, or you can actually download a version from the web for a Windows device. So you can do that if you have a compatible Windows device with the web camera. So you could certainly do that. If like, let's say a whole school system or a whole ESC or something like that wants to get the software, then we have a bundled kind of deals as well. But then these therapists can simply just take your laptop around, take your phone, take an iPad, which actually, this is the type of setup that we have. This is just a stand off of Amazon that's about $30. It's great to just hold that iPad up nice and straight.
Right.
And they basically just bring it to any place that they're doing therapy. It is great when you can project it onto a larger screen. So you can cast to a smart board or a TV. It just feels more immersive.
Yeah.
But it certainly isn't essential. And really, it has a whole slew of activities in it. So some for executive function, some sequencing tasks, definitely some gross motor, some kind of fine motor tasks as well. A lot of speech therapists that do use the software love the multidisciplinary aspect of some of the games. So they're really kind of modifying some of the games and giving verbal prompts or directional prompts or things like that in the software. So those are ways, and they can just use it in the actual in-person session if they want, and then their patients can use the software for free through their subscription. So let's say you introduce it to a 7-year-old kid that is highly refusing therapy, but is latched onto this software, and you think this is finally the tool that's going to engage this kid to not only engage with me, but let's say engage at home. Then you just get an email address, input that information in. The patient then can download the app to their device at home, and you can create a customized gamified program for your patient. And now you can see what they do at home or in the classroom when you're not there.
Family life doesn't come with a manual, but it should come with the brief. I'm Mike Cater, family and matrimonial lawyer. And on the brief, I tackle the questions and concerns that keep families up at night. Everything from custody battles and co-parenting to managing finances, mental health, and more. With years in the courtroom, I've seen it all. And I'm here to share lessons, strategies, and stories that can help you navigate the toughest situations. Whether you're a parent, partner, or just someone who wants to expand your knowledge, join me each week on The Brief. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts, and let's find solutions together.
That's really nice, because I always say that my most important job is just like building a rapport with the team. In the real world, that's what happens out there, the communication. Like when you're not in the therapy session, it's just with anything, like you're learning any new skill. It's like, yes, you learn it, but now you need to practice it and you need to do it in the real world. So that sounds nice. And yeah, you're like, gone are like the therapy sheets where you're like, okay, do 10 of these, do 5 of these. This makes it more fun. And just thinking about students with disabilities and having something that would be fun for them to do in the home environment sounds like it would be enriching too. And that they might want to do, which makes it fun. The gamification aspect, I think that sounds really neat. So then let's say that I have a student and they have a particular goal, then can I go into the software or the application and say like, I'm going to subscribe or prescribe a couple, like this is what the student should be doing as kind of a homework after the session? Is that how that works?
Yep. It's just a menu. So we've got a menu of strengthening, coordination, balance, executive function, some emotional regulation type things. We have a partnership with Sesame Street. So some of the exercises and experiences you can actually play along with Elmo and Cookie Monster and the Count. We also have a partnership with Niantic Spatial. who they were initially the makers of Pokemon Go, and we're using their 3D pet. So we are creating some really cool experiences with a virtual pet in the software. But you just go in and you can actually modify in ARWell PRO, you can modify these experiences. So you could say, I want to do right hand only. I want to eliminate verbal prompting. Let's say this is a kiddo that's done this over and over and doesn't need tons of verbal prompts.
Yeah.
You can really customize it for that kiddo. And now you have objective data that's automatically generated for you in the software. And then there's just a really cool copy paste button that you just copy it and paste it anywhere you want. It's the best part.
Yes, progress reports. I mean, they're coming, people. And so this sounds like something that's really nice. That was always so hard. I decided not to go back. I was working 2 days a week as a school-based SLP. I don't even know if I told you that when we connected a month ago, but I decided to not do that and just focus on ABA speech. So I'm excited about that, but I'm still traumatized by progress reports. So that sounds like a nice feature because you really want to highlight exactly what you're doing. And that's what's neat about this is that I think too, like giving caregivers and parents and guardians insight into like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're working on in therapy. I think that's really powerful too, because even if you're in an outpatient setting or school, it's even harder, right? To connect with families. It's letting them know like, yeah, this is what we're working on. This is what it is. I think that was nice when the one nice thing about COVID when it hit is that I was able to see parents, even my school-based parents, because I was providing teletherapy and they were like, oh, wow, this is great. Like, this is what speech therapy looks like. Cool. Because it's hard for people to understand that. So that idea of, or if you're in a district where you can put it on a smart board, looping in the paraprofessionals or, registered behavioral technicians so that everybody's kind of on board with what the goals are. I think there's power in that too, don't you, to that generalization piece?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like expecting results. I often use this analogy. It's like expecting results for, let's say, dieting 2 meals a week and expecting great outcomes from it. Like, it's just not going to happen. Our field relies on repetition and generalization across settings. And I think more often than not, we see the extremes that technology can be for a lot of our population as a negative, and it absolutely can be negative. But there's also incredible power when we blend our expertise with it. And there's just no question that the younger generations are gravitating towards it. And I really wanted to harness that power for good and really help reach my patients everywhere, which is the thing that I also agree came out of COVID that was a good thing. Because I think we realize that there are good things about telehealth when used with the right patient at the right time. But oftentimes the tools that we had to use were really designed for board meetings and just not for, therapy. And so that was really what I thought, like we could do this better. And we can reach kids that, let's say, have transportation challenges. There's a ton of variables that go into getting to therapy and doing this frequently. And I thought, let's make the tech work for us.
I love that. Do you guys have any international clients that are utilizing your technology? Because I do some, not a lot. I don't have a lot of time to do consultations anymore, but I work with some people in more developing countries who I think would love this technology and just sharing about it. Because sometimes what I have found is my families that I'm consulting with have a lack of qualified providers to help out in their area. So is that something that you've been able to help out with?
We're just starting that. So that's exciting that you share that with me and very cool. And yet again, another good thing that you're doing in the world, Rose, truly. But we're just starting. We're working with a hospital in Israel that's using the software. We're working with a hospital is trialing it right now in Germany. And we're talking to some places. Hopefully, we're talking to them in United Arab Emirates.
Wow.
So like lots of cool things on the horizon. But you're right. Like there are really incredible barriers to receiving care in other places as well. And I can't wait to see if we can help.
Yeah, that's neat. I love that. So tell me, I know you guys do some research. I was looking at the website. Can you tell us about some of the research that you have been a part of?
Yeah, we're very big believers in research. That's another thing that I noticed a lot of tech out there in our space was lacking.
Mm.
So we've published some research. We just recently actually published research. A researcher at Yale researched our software for older adults over the age of 65 with mild cognitive impairment and did an 8-week intervention. And there were signs of cognitive improvement as a result of our exergaming software helping that population. We also have published a study in Annals of Medicine. This was done with school-based kiddos. I think it was like 11 subjects over the course of a school year, and showed there was higher levels of engagement, lower levels of refusal, higher levels of on-task time, which we all know are some of our biggest barriers. Like my average session, a lot of times, let's say out of a 30 to 45-minute session, 45 minutes of it, or half of the time, I was redirecting them.
Yes, right. Yeah.
We showed basically versus traditional therapy alone, we had higher levels of engagement, which is really powerful when every minute counts with these kids.
Yes, I always say that. The type of kid I talk about, or when I started ABA speech, was not the type of kid. If you didn't have the material, you'd say like, 1 second, I'm going to grab this flashcard in the other area. Then the rest of the session is not speech therapy. It is trying to recoup the engagement of the session. So I love that idea. Yeah, you're right. You don't want to set your sessions up for that. It's almost like an antecedent intervention where you're like, I have this cool way that we can make therapy fun and functional. That's like a tagline I've used a lot here at ABA speech, because it's supposed to be fun. Right? It's not supposed to be compliance based. It's supposed to be fun. And the thing is like, you can't make somebody, especially for speech therapy, you can't make somebody talk, right? You can't really make somebody move. And you want people to have more spontaneous movements and to live their life that way. That's cool with the study with the older people. I think I saw that on the site. That's so important. Because sometimes if you're older, if you have maybe early onset dementia, your world may get really small, especially if you don't have people to kind of broaden that up for you. So that's neat. Thanks for doing that. I love that you're sharing that. So do you think this technology, you kind of shared that maybe it's being used, is it primarily being used by physical therapists, or do you think it has some implications for speech therapists and behavioral colleagues?
Yeah, it's the primary audience right now is PTs and OTs and some SLPs, and we've heard of some behavioral therapists as well using it, but it's definitely more used by PTs and OTs right now. But we're actually working on, in the near future, some really targeted speech experiences. So even though we have a lot of ways that speech therapists are already using our current experiences as kind of a multidisciplinary approach. We're working on some really dedicated speech content here in the next 6 months. We're going to get going on that. So yeah, we're very excited about it.
Well, you'll have to tell me about that and we can share at ABA Speech. That's really cool. I love that. It's been so fun to connect. And where can people find out more about you and your work?
Yeah, the best place to find out about us is to go to our website, augmenttherapy.com, 2 T's back to back. You can follow us on Instagram or on LinkedIn or Facebook, see what we're doing. But yeah, we're building every day. We have the most amazing team of clinicians, specialists, some amazing tech people that have been working in the industry for over 30 years, and just people really wanting to help this population. And I'm excited to see what the next year brings.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming on the show.
Thank you.